My life would have been so much easier if I had not just learned this, but really embodied it, lived it every single day so much sooner than I did. In fact, I think this is something that can help all of us if we really, truly, deeply accept this, then taking action, doing what's important to us, progressing in areas that we desire will become much, much easier, and even more than that, more enjoyable. What am I talking about? Making mistakes, messing things up, whether that's in your personal life, in your relationships, with your job, at work, in business, etc., with your finances. There's so many different areas of our lives, and the one thing that we can be sure on is we're going to make mistakes in those different areas. Now, of course, I'm speaking specifically to mindset and public speaking, but I think part of that personal development and part of what shows, there's a mistake. Take a breath, carry on. Part of what allows you to show up as an incredible speaker is knowing that mistakes can happen. And it's not about not making the mistake, it's about being able to make mistakes and then keep on moving forwards anyway. Now, in the context of public speaking, perhaps you did what I just did and you mess up a few words, or you get a sentence wrong, or you mispronounce something. Now, if it's something small and really easy, then just keep going, especially if you've only got a short amount of time to speak in. Just keep going. No one's going to hold on to that one moment of all of you talking and be like, you made a mistake, I am never listening to you ever again. In fact, there's a lot of research that shows when we make mistakes, when there's a little error in something, it kind of builds a little bit of rapport and relatability. We see that someone's human. They're not this polished, perfect robot. So allow yourself to make a mistake and then just keep on going. If it's something that's really obvious, really noticeable, take a breath. That's okay too, and probably will happen. So take a breath, pause if you need to correct, amend, reword what you were saying, etc., and again, just keep going. And it's exactly the same outside of public speaking. When you're having conversations with colleagues, with team members, in relationships, especially in relationships, you may say something, i.e. make a mistake. You may say something that you don't mean. Hello, I am Harriet, and I used to get so angry. I had a lot of pain inside, I had a lot of insecurity, and it would come out as anger. And particularly with my amazingly incredible, patient and supportive partner, James, the absolute legend that he is, in the beginning stages of our relationship and for a few years, really mostly when we drank. James is someone that doesn't particularly like to argue, but I would lash out and I would say things that I did not mean. I would make a mistake. My insecurities meant that I would project, and I said horrible things to him. I made mistakes. But again, it's not about sweeping it up under the rug. It's not about hiding from that. It's about how can we accept our mistakes? How can we take responsibility for something that we have done and not allow it to keep affecting us? As I said earlier, it's understanding that mistakes are inevitable. Most couples argue. Most couples will say things that they don't mean. But in this situation, in the scenarios with James, especially as I became more aware of this work and taking responsibility for my own actions, we were able to sit down afterwards. I was able to come back and apologize. I'm sorry that I spoke to you this way. I said some things that I really didn't mean. This is the truth. This is how I really feel. I apologize for speaking in that way. Even more than that, perhaps understanding what caused you to make the mistake. I get scared. I've got a massive fear of rejection. I put walls and barriers up, and I'll try and push you away so that I don't have the fear of someone leaving me coming true. So I understood why it was I was acting in that way and was able to apologize. This is the reason that I made these mistakes, but I understand that it's not acceptable and I don't want to keep on carrying on with that behavior. So allow yourself to mess up, to make mistakes as a human being, whether it's with your finances. I've made some really silly mistakes with my finances. In work, oh my goodness, I mean, there's the error of, you send an email and you say it's got an attachment and it doesn't. That's just a little itty bitty mistake. Or maybe it's something like, I spoke angrily. There was a theme there. Could you see? I spoke very angrily at one point to my boss, and I was always someone that wore a mask and pretended everything that was okay and always wanted to fit in. I was really scared of making mistakes because I wanted people to have this impression that I was really good at what I was doing, so I was scared of making mistakes. And one day, not my boss, but like a team leader came and tried speaking to me, and I just exploded. I let everything out. I had like months of stories and anger and pain and frustration and annoyance that I just let out on this particular girl. And in fact, I got sent home because of it. I was sent away from that environment and asked to go and think about my behavior. And sure enough, again, I was able to reflect on the mistake. I was able to hold my hands up, apologize for what I had done, go back, speak with this wonderful woman, apologize, communicate, have further conversations, and then move forwards. So no matter what area it is in, I've given a couple of examples here today, but no matter what area it's in, you're going to make mistakes. And the sad thing about mistakes is, first and foremost, people stop themselves from taking action because they're scared of making a mistake. That almost like fear of failure, but perhaps it's even not failure of the whole result, but making mistakes along the way, little failures along the way, and people don't take action because they're scared of making a mistake and not getting it perfect. Perfect doesn't exist, guys, and not getting it perfect. Or the second one is, people will do something, especially with public speaking, they'll give a presentation, but because they've made a mistake, they almost retreat back into that comfort zone. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that like that. Oh, I messed up. Take a breath. It's okay. 3 tips to support you. Number 1, if it isn't obvious already, is that mistakes are part of the journey. I heard somewhere, and I love to give credit and acknowledge who I learn and hear these things from. But unfortunately, I was driving and I just didn't take note of it, and I can't remember. But somebody said, we will make mistakes. They call them mistakes instead of mistakes because we must make mistakes. Mistakes will happen, especially if you're progressing, especially if you're growing, especially if you're moving in the direction of what it is you desire. You're going to make mistakes. We don't know everything. We don't get everything spot on, wonderful, amazing, perfect all the time. Yes, it'd be really nice if we did, but we don't. So take a breath, and number 1, understand and really deeply accept. Like right now, you're just hearing it and it probably sounds good, but keep repeating that to yourself until it becomes your day-to-day experience, so that when you're either scared of making a mistake or you've made one, you're very quickly able to go, that's okay, I made a mistake. There's 7.5 billion people in the world. All of them are making mistakes at some point or other in their life. I'm no different. I made a mistake. It's okay. So number 2, what do I learn from this? Do I need to learn something? Was it just a little small mistake that I'm aware of and I can just move on from and let it go? Or is it something that actually I can reflect on and I can learn from? And with the examples that I gave, I can reflect on my behavior and take responsibility and go and communicate with the other people that were involved. Or maybe if it was not including people, but it's a situation, a scenario, you did something at work, nobody's seen it, but you've done something and you know it's a mistake at work. Well, how can you reflect and learn from that? How can you communicate with whoever it may support having that conversation with? Or how can you amend what you've done? How can you fix what you've done? Or how can you learn from it in order to do it a different way next time? So the reflection will always be different depending on what mistake it was. But what can we learn and move on with? What information can we take to improve this in the future? And then third, as we just started to move into, is to follow up or adjust. Follow up, go and have that conversation. Be honest, be open, share, perhaps with your partner, perhaps with somebody at work, perhaps with a customer, but just go and be open and honest about it. Please, I made a mistake. I'm taking responsibility for it. And then continue that conversation in the way that best supports moving forwards. And if it's not, go and follow up on the action, on the necessary action or adjustments that you need to take to move forward when you've become aware of that mistake. But the biggest message that I really trust and hope that you take from this video is mistakes. You will make mistakes. They are normal. They are part of your journey. Take a deep breath. Let the fear of making mistakes dissipate as you understand that it is just something that will happen. And when you make a mistake, quickly digest. Is this something that I can just move on from, or is this something that I can learn from or address in this moment to make a better result moving forwards? I hope that helps. And of course, if you are not already, do hit that subscribe button and the notification. That would have been a funny mistake if my arms just slipped off the table. Bang. Anyway, if you're not already, do make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Even hit the little notification bell next to it so that you get your alerts as and when these videos come live. But otherwise, as always, let's continue rising together.